Hello and welcome back to Destin Business Forum, a television show for members of the Destin Chamber of Commerce. We're glad to have you with us. I'm Shane Moody, President and CEO of the Chamber, and glad to be your host this month. And our next guest is Holly Riches. She is the Director of Admissions from Rocky Bayou Christian School.
Yes, sir.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you very much.
First time doing the show?
Yes.
Okay, well, we're going to have fun. Enjoy it. Tell us a little bit about Rocky Bayou.
Well, we've been in business for almost 47 years now in Niceville, Florida, and we have a campus there that's K-3 through 12th grade. And then we also have a campus now in Crestview that is K-4 through 5th grade.
Okay.
So we meet a wide variety of needs, and we have a school where you can bring your student as young as 3 and they can stay until they graduate in one continuous, nurturing, educational, spiritual environment.
And so how important is that? I mean, to be able to go there at 3 and stay there for 15, 16 years, how important is that to the development of the child and the student?
Well, I think continuity is really important. And so when you have those relationships with teachers, with administrators, and from parent to teacher and parent to administrator, the student is only going to benefit by all of those years of relationship. Okay. Plus, we can build on our excellent academics throughout the time that a student is growing up.
All right, well, let's talk about that, the curriculum and academics. What's your curriculum like? What are the services that you provide? And what do you do for the students?
Well, we do all kinds of things. One of the things that makes us different is that we minister to all different kinds of students. We have classes for students that are 1 year or more ahead of public school standards. We have classes for students that are traditional students. We have classes for students that have mild to moderate special needs. A lot of times they're still on grade level. They just need a little more personal attention. So everything from a 3-to-1 student-teacher ratio to a 7-to-1 student-teacher ratio in those classrooms. And then we have classrooms for students who have significant cognitive, developmental, or processing issues. And so the goal was 46 years ago when our 2 founding families made our school not only to provide a great spiritual foundation for students, but also to be able to meet the needs of a wide variety of students all on one campus. And our curriculum, we use a mixture of Abeka and Bob Jones curriculums, which are the 2 major Christian curriculums in the world. And then we also recognize that students have different needs, and so we will tailor curriculums to those students. For example, if a student has dyslexia or dysgraphia, we may use a curriculum called Orton-Gillingham, which we found very helpful and useful for students that have a specific need, but we're not going to use it for everyone. We're just going to use it for the students who will benefit from it. Right.
Well, you mentioned in that conversation the spiritual component. Talk about why that's important. I mean, obviously you're a Christian school, so it's important there, but the spiritual side of things and how that lends itself to education.
Well, a lot of times families are teaching their students at home what their value system is. They are educating their student as they live life, what's appropriate behavior, what is good, what's not good, and then that's reinforced at church once or twice a week in normal situations for families who recognize and value a spiritual foundation for their family. At Rocky, we recognize that kids are going to be in school about 14,000 hours in between kindergarten and 12th grade. Right. So 8 hours a day, 180 days a year. And at our school, we spend all of those hours reinforcing what a family already is teaching their students at home and what they're hearing at church. So we really believe that when you hear for 14,000 hours exactly what you hear at home and then what you hear at church, and all those things line up, that's how you're going to produce a Christian grown-up. And that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, and they're coming out of the school very well-rounded as
Absolutely.
well. I mean, your success rate of sending kids to college is pretty high, too.
I'm glad you brought that up because we just graduated 48 students about a month ago, and those 48 students earned $5.8 million worth of scholarships.
Wow.
So that averages out to $120,000 each. So we recognize that private school and Christian school is an investment, but we hope that it pays off in a myriad of ways, one of which is maybe college paid for.
Right. Right.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. People think about small private school, small Christian school as well. They're just academics, but y'all are much more than that.
Absolutely.
So talk about the extracurricular. What are the other things that students can do besides just go to class?
Well, we want to make sure that we can offer a student at Rocky almost everything that you can get anywhere else. And so we have over 20 varsity sports. We have 10 JV and middle school sports. We have intramural elementary sports, so a 4th grader can play flag football, soccer, basketball, or cheerleading at our school after school with our own employees. We have a full fine and performing arts program. So beginning in 5th grade, a student can learn an instrument or join our choir or take specific art classes. And then we add theater to that as well in 7th grade. And so you're exactly right. We are looking to not only create well-rounded adults, but recognizing that not every student is going to be an academic proficient. You know, some
Right.
students, you may have a student that's going to be the best tuba player in the world, and that's great. We want to encourage that as well.
Right. Yeah, and it's one of the things that I see people when a child says, I'm going to be whatever it is when I grow up, and somebody say, oh, you'll never be able to do that. I mean, it really doesn't matter, does it?
Well, we want a child and a student to recognize who they are in Christ.
Right.
If you understand who you are in Christ and you have a great academic foundation, you can go do whatever it is that He called you to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And so just follow that dream. If that's what you want to do, that's what I tell my kids. If you want to do it, go do it.
Right.
Because you can.
Right.
We talked a little bit about scholarships and your graduates. Community involvement. Most people think of schools as the community needs to be involved in the schools, but you guys are unique because you get involved. I see you everywhere.
Yes,
At community
we try.
events everywhere. Talk about that and why it's important.
Well, it's important for us to help our students become very good civic-minded community members. And so we encourage them, of course, to get those service hours that you need for bright futures in the state of Florida,
right.
as well as service hours just because it's a good way to become a full-fledged adult. When you put yourself into situations where you're serving other people, you recognize, your place in the world and you understand how you can help other people. So we are working actually with the Heritage Museum coming up with Smoke on the Coast.
Okay.
We have some of our students doing face painting for that, and they're volunteering their time, and that's just another, chance for them to use the gifts and abilities that God's given them and make a difference.
And you mentioned Bright Future Scholarships, how that's important, but colleges now are looking for kids that are well-rounded to come in because they make better students, number one.
Right.
But number two, they'll improve life for all the students on campus by being community-oriented.
Right.
Are you seeing that as a challenge to kids as they apply to college when they graduate?
I think one of the challenges we have at Rocky Bayou Christian School is we have so many different kinds of students. We have students that are on the autism spectrum, and we have students that got a perfect score on their ACT this year. So we want each student to recognize that God made them individually and He has something for them. It may not be college.
Right.
It may be trade school. You may go to learn how to be a welder, or you may, go into a small business. We want our kids to recognize that even though the world may say they have limitations, they don't.
Right.
But they may need to decide what is the best, path for me.
Yeah, and education is changing so much, and you mentioned welding. It's number 3 job need in the state of Florida. 2-year certificate, you can make $85,000.
Right.
At 20, 21
Yes.
years old. So that's a good living. Well, thank you so much for being with us. You
Absolutely.
guys keep up the great work
Thank
you're
you.
doing, and please stay involved in the community because that's important. You help us grow.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for being here.
Sure.
And ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back with our next guest.